What's up, everyone? My name is Tony Hughes, and welcome to another video. We've been talking about good news because that is what we want to hear, and we're focusing on Jesus because he's awesome. The source that we're using is the Bible because this thing is loaded with practical insight and wisdom that will bless mankind. It's awesome. So we're going to be in Mark chapter 6, starting in verse 30. But before we jump into the text, I have to ask you this question. Can you sympathize with Jesus? Can you understand what's going on in his life? Check it out. It says this. The apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going, that they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." Earlier in Mark chapter 6, it says that Jesus paired off the disciples in pairs of two and sent them out. He said, I want you to go bless people, serve people, heal people, help them with demon possession, talk about the kingdom of heaven. He empowered them and saying, go through this experience, talk about the kingdom, share good news, and upon returning, he wanted to unpack everything with his disciples. They went through crazy cool experiences. They had to have. Healing the sick, I don't know what that is like, but how cool would that be? Or healing those that are demon possessed, that would be awesome, right? Talking about the kingdom of heaven, they had to experience good things and challenging things. But as they were returning, you know they were excited. You know they wanted to unpack it with Jesus. But in the text, it says that when they came, they tried to talk about it, but crowds were there. People were everywhere. It says they were so busy. People were coming and going that they didn't even have a chance to eat. So Jesus recognized the situation, saw that the apostles could not unpack their experience, and he said, let's go to a quiet place and get some rest. Meaning, let's unpack this, let's calm down, let's take a breather, okay, kind of reset our lives, and we can progress. But that's not what happens. Notice what happens in verse 32. It says, so they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many, many things. Okay, this is cool. Here's why. Jesus recognizes that the disciples returned from a crazy cool experience. And he's like, okay, I know you're tired. I know you're hungry. I know you need a reset. So let's go to a quiet place and get that. Okay, let's take a breather. And as Jesus left, the crowds recognized them leaving and they thought, oh no, where is he going? So they took off and ran to the other side of the lake. That is cool. Here's why. People want to know Jesus. They're intrigued with him, right? So they show up and notice how Jesus responds. He had compassion on them and he taught them. So the question I have to ask you is, can you relate to the disciples? Because one, they're hungry and they couldn't eat. Two, they want to unpack their experience, but they couldn't. And three, they wanted to rest, but they couldn't because crowds of people came and Jesus started teaching them. It's like Jesus made the disciples primary at that time to help them, but they became secondary because crowds came and Jesus said, I need to keep teaching. Of course, he was teaching his disciples. Of course, he was blessing them. But we can recognize that Jesus cares for people. So here's the point I want you to be thinking about. There are times in our lives where we are stressed out, busy, time to reset, time to recharge, time to take a break, and we can't. And we're bothered by it. Can you imagine for a second, Jesus is so popular, people want his attention, want his teaching, need his healing, right? They're everywhere all the time around him. And do you think he needed to reset? Do you think he needed to take a break? Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's good news out there. Here's why. Jesus can relate. Jesus understands. He understands that we need to take a break. That's why he looked at his disciples and said, let's go somewhere quiet. It's time to recharge. It's time for alone time with God, right? It's time to rest and sit and just discuss things. It's so cool because he understands what we need. Emotionally, he understands what we need physically. And again, that is good news. Can Jesus sympathize with mankind? Yeah, because he can see us and say they need a break. They need to reset and recharge. It makes sense why God gave mankind the Sabbath, right? It makes sense why God said on the seventh day after he created everything, he rested. He understands us. That is good news. That is incredible news. So here's your challenge. Keep checking out Jesus. Grab a Bible. Go through the Gospel of Mark. Start your journey. Figure out who Jesus is. And the question that you have to navigate through is, who is he and can he relate to me? Because as you discover and as we go through Mark, he can. And that is awesome. I hope you guys are encouraged. Hope you're doing well. Love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.